Dan, Dan, you saw this clip and you told me I need it on there, and I told you, all right, I'll put it on there. So Dan,
I love just sitting there and listening to each guy kind of orchestrate the cadences and the difference between them. Justin's like brilliant.
I know what I want to ask.
Could you imagine working with this guy every day?
Like
yeah, how?
He's had 3 different systems
Yeah.
over the last 3. This is his 3rd system in 3 years.
I know. It's unbelievable.
And he just has not flinched. It's not, Greg, give me that again.
Not at all. Dude, I'm telling you.
It's unreal.
Yeah, he's got that thing inside of him that's telling whoever, like, I got this down cold, if you haven't noticed.
No.
Yeah, high praise.
You know what's the funniest part? I'm not one of those guys. Actually, no, scratch that. I am one of those guys. I've been saying that since the boy got drafted, and no one has wanted to acknowledge that fact. But I'll get into that when we get into some of the other quarterback stuff. But what can I tell you, Gilberto? He's a son of Odin. You know, in that scene where you ever watch Ted 2?
Yes.
You remember the scene where they sneak into Tom Brady's bedroom and they're trying to
yeah.
That's the son of Odin now.
Yeah.
You open up them covers, he's good to go. He's golden boy, dude. He's ready to go. That dude is the young goat. I cannot wait to see what he's gonna do. But yeah, what more can I tell you, dude? Oh yeah, here he is. Here he is. If I couldn't love him anymore, music concert, it's the absolute best, dude. Dak Bryan. Then you see this is what I love. He's hanging out with his linemen, his 2 tackles.
Hey, Cameron Dicker too, and the kicker.
Okay, that's great. We can move on. Thank you.
He makes field goals. What are you talking
about? I know. I'm just kidding.
Damn, Puka Nacua was also there, and some other Rams.
That's Puka Nacua.
Yeah, Puka Nacua was there too.
No one cares.
They got people from the Rams and from the
Chargers. Yeah.
But this is
the beard then.
I don't know. I don't know. This is what I'm talking about. This is beautiful to me because this is how you build team camaraderie, which I think was missing on the team between quarterback and lineman for about 20 years. I won't say who, but we'll move on.
Hey, I'll say this, Dan, for Herbert to be on stage and get some spotlight, like he must have been having a good time. He hates cameras.
He must have been smashing those Modelos or whatever, Bush Lights, whatever. It's
almost time for the season, Dan. No smashing.
No alcohol. Right now, he's like Khabib in Islam. Prayer and training. That's the only thing he's doing right now. Prayer and training. No, none of that.
Gilbert, I want to give you your time. Thier wants you to explain yourself. Right, Go ahead.
This is 2 weeks ago, Thier, but I get it. You're late and you're mad about my opinion about the Chargers. And, you know, I'll say this, and you're not going to like me, like kind of doing a little bit of backtracking, but you know, Fernando has a point. You know, they had winnable games against the Cardinals and, you know, even the Saints there. So maybe they get 9 wins, whatever. That's still not enough to make the playoffs. You know, I'll give you that at the air. But it's just, to me, it feels like a 2-year project. And that's not a slight at Jim Harbaugh. It's a lot to kind of deal with. Justin Herbert is amazing. You heard what Greg Roman said there. So, you know, to go from 5-12 to into the playoffs, it happens a lot in the NFL. I get that, but you're asking a lot from Harbaugh. And you know what? I went off of Fernando's 2-game win factor for Harbaugh. So from 7-10 to 9-8. Yeah. Okay. You know, fine. But is it enough to make the playoffs? I don't know. Again, the rushing attack, I'm worried about it. The interior of the offensive line, I'm worried about it. Hey, they might have some studs in Joe Alt. He was a beast when I saw him right there in person and then on stage. We'll talk about that in a bit there. And then Fernando, this doesn't get talked about enough. The defense is a lot of problems right now. Interior defensive line, can you stop the run? Can you figure out the linebacker spot? Well, does Perriman have enough? Does Colson pick it up? And then does Derwin James have enough help there? You got pass rushers. When you got pass rushers and you got tackles, you're always going to have a chance with the son of Odin, right, Dan? But to me, there's just too many uphill battles to be an instant playoff team. I could be wrong, but I'll say this, Athir and Chargers fans, it's a 2-year project. And I could put anything right now if you want me to do it. I won't. But Chargers make the playoffs for sure, and within 2 years, either this year or next year. But I'm being more confident for next year.
No, and real quick, going off of that, I definitely that's what I've been reiterating, that the secondary is a little bit nervous. It makes you a little bit nervous looking at the secondary. Huh?
No, I was laughing at Jorge's comment.
there's a little bit of hesitancy with the secondary. Then you kind of look at some of the other, like linebacker, like Gilbert said, Dale Henley is going to be interesting to watch. Junior Cole Center is going to be, but you're counting on a second and a first year linebacker, and then
Daily guy who might not fit the scheme. I'm not too sure, but that matters too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then the defensive line, there's still question marks about that offensive line. I mean, I know that Morgan Fox and some of these other guys have done well in the past, but it's just it's just interesting to see. Jorge said if the Chargers win more than 7 games, you have to eat an avocado pie.
No. You know what? I'll take it further, and I will accept your bet, Jorge, if they make the playoffs. How about that?
Ooh.
So real quick, are you done for an hour or no?
Well, I was just gonna say a little bit more. But
go for it.
I understand where Gilbert's coming from. I mean, we've seen it in the past. The only thing that has me changing kind of my mind from what I've seen in the past is the fact that obviously this head coach is different, this coaching staff is different. But the thing is, what Gilbert's saying is that it's good, and what I've been saying as well is that it's going to take a while because he has a lot of stuff he needs to fix. When you have bad habits, and you know this franchise has very bad habits, you kind of got to spank the shit out of the kid to get him to. Well, no. You got.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. You gotta change their ways slowly but surely. It's not gonna one spank. Oh, there you go. One spank isn't gonna make them think, oh, I need to change what I've been doing. No. Slowly but surely, you got to implement it. You got to do everything you got to do. Now, their strength and conditioning, Gilbert was even surprised. He's like, how many strength and conditioning people do they have? Now, they're like, we all saw the grades last year. The Chargers had terrible grades when it came to facilities, food, all that stuff. The Chargers are now changing all that. Now they're moving in their new facility. I think Wolfgang Puck is supposedly catering for the players and the team, or one of his restaurants or something. So that slowly but surely you got to make all the bad changes that this franchise has done in the past. In the past, yes, they've been cheap. Yes, they've made some questionable decisions. Yes, they have given money to players that you're like, okay, why? Like, why are you giving that guy money? Why are you paying him? So now you're changing everything with Jim Harbaugh. And now it's and now it's going to take some time for him to do. But you guys got to remember, this team is still it's a work in progress, and it's going to be a work in progress. I think that Gilbert's skepticism is 100%. What do I want to say? Like it
warranted. There's no doubt the skepticism is warranted.
Yeah. So I definitely.
Hey, but to go off of what you said about the coaches that I saw there, in person. I was there in person to kind of, see what's going on there.
Chargers didn't know that Gilbert was still alive. They all thought that he
had moved. Hey, by the way, I did speak to a couple of coaches, and some players saw me, so they still remember me. It's been a couple of years. That was cool. Perriman even say, hey, like, kind of gave me a point, like he remembers me, or he just being nice, like pointing at everybody. But that was cool. And like you mentioned, no music there. But to see just the way Jim Harbaugh is so active and everything, like the new kickoff rule they were practicing, he was like watching, what are you doing, Ficken? What's going on here? He wants to be involved in everything. We saw these strange kind of things, not strange, but things that we're not used to seeing, these kind of drills, and maybe we could elaborate a little later. But, the way he was working with the wide receivers, working with the quarterback, going on defense. And then when it came to the sleds with the weights, I wanted to record it because it was so cool. Jim Harbaugh wrapped around a sled around his waist with, I want to say 245s, maybe 3 on it.
345.
And 345s going behind, running backwards with his players. So the enthusiasm unknown to mankind, there you go, was definitely on point.
Yeah,
that's my thing. That's my thing, dude. Just trying to get in here real quick. My ceiling is 14-3. My
okay.
My what do you call it? The basement or the bottom is 10-7. And the reason why I say this is because you notice all the dysfunction from the past few years coming out finally. I mean, Chase Daniel coming out of the woodworks all of a sudden trying to just talk trash, get some clicks and everything. I get it. But like my thing is this, I'm a student of history, and the thing they used to say about Napoleon Bonaparte is that he counted for 10,000 men on the battlefield. So it didn't matter how much, levels wise and everything else, numbers wise between him and his opponents. His soldiers were not, conscripted. They weren't slaves or any of that stuff. They all believed. They believed that the emperor was going to lead them through it. And
Yeah,
I
then
think,
they died from the blizzard in Russia, but whatever.
Take it easy, guy. Take it easy. Take it easy.
I watched the movie.
He watched the Apple TV.
I was about to say, like, yeah, of course he ends up, different.
But you believe when you win a couple
he,
championships, right?
He was still one of the great. We're still talking about him today. That's how important the guy was. He was revolutionary. But I'm not going to get into the whole poli-sci and all that stuff. It's just an example, now that he threw off my train of thought, of what's happening now with the Chargers, right? You go from, if we're to believe the reports, a lot of questions on defense, a lot of bickering between coaches getting sold out and shipped off and fired and other things like that. If we're to believe that, now you bring in a type of Napoleon in Jim Harbaugh, who the guys believe in him no matter, without a doubt. You know what I mean? Because that's the type of aura and presence he has. From the videos I've seen of his dad telling the Cassius Clay story, I feel the aura. I'm like, shit, I wish I was in that room. I can only imagine now with Jim Harbaugh in the room and everything else. He's got those guys believing, yeah, it's not the same old Chargers, because now we're going to do a lot more, where they're going to be a lot different. And, belief is the number one thing. They have to believe they can beat the Chiefs and make a playoff run. So that's why I think, the type of nonsense he's going to have, the type of clear plan he's going to have, the type of, coaches he surrounded himself with, because everybody forgets too, he brought in Navarro Bowman, which you try and talk back to Navarro Bowman or talk trash, I'm sure he's going to roll the highlight tape and say, hey, I played in the league when there were men in this league. Like, this was a lot different of a game back then. Same with Nick Hardwick. Now he's got Nick Hardwick in there, and I think that just adds so much, because they're going to see these guys as, oh, shit, I grew up watching this guy. I grew up watching that guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a different aura. They're gonna really, I guess, have that infectious, what's it called? Enthusiasm unbeknownst to mankind. And I think they're really going to ooze that. And that's personally what I'm thinking on, besides that, and a schedule that's not that difficult. Like, I know you're a big Cardinals guy. All of a sudden now you just jump from the teams who have red and they're going to make the NFC Championship and everything else. I get it. I'm not a huge believer in the
let me do that.
Call Kyler Murray.
Finish.
No. Okay, my bad.
So that's all I'm saying. My bad. Long story short, that's what I'm getting to. They have an easier schedule. I think they're going to go back to doing what God intended when it comes to playing football. Run the football, punish your opponent, and play defense. So, because again, actually, no, it's more for later. Never mind. But that's all I'm saying. Because remember too, a lot of these morons want to talk about Justin Herbert not being clutch. He was clutching games, but the defense couldn't stop him on the way back, and they left too much time on the clock. That also is a component that goes into the game. So again, you ask me who I would build a franchise around. 100% Justin freaking Herbert. Give me the son of Odin, the god of lightning. Goes to country concerts with his linemen. What more do you want? If he was ripping a few beers, I'd be better, but it is what it is. I can't have it all. But
hey, you know what your quarterback drinking, man.
Dan, just go to training camp with a megaphone and a whistle and coach the players until someone stops you. I don't think anyone would notice. If anything, Harbaugh would love it.
Could you imagine? I would have a damn enthusiasm. You know what's funny? And that's the other thing, right?
Let the people's champ speak. And then Moy agree with you. When is the next Call of Duty dropping? Arizona will be
my boy knows. My boy knows.
It is kind of an early game. I don't know. Maybe
he's
I
done in November. The fact that they have to put film hours into his contract, that's real. No matter what they try and tell me with media releases and everything else. So I totally believe
through
that.
some interviews I've noticed. Like, kind of.
But the other thing I was gonna say is when you bring a guy like Chris Hardwick back in the building, when you bring alumni back into, sorry, Nick Hardwick,
a little bokey out there when I told Fernando.
I know,
but that guy's thirsty for a championship, especially being at the former club he was at. Like, I think that stuff, you hope it's real, because I sort of feel it now coaching at my alma mater, where I'm just thirsty. I'm like, I feel the extra pressure because I want to do it and bring it home, if that makes sense. So I'm just super excited to see what's going to happen. I think it's going to be must-see TV no matter whatever anybody says. And, if Justin Herbert's only throwing 25 to 30 times a game because the run game is so effective, I can't wait, dude. I'm all for it. Sign me up.
Can I say a little more positive things, Fernando, or you
Yeah.
got something going?
No. You go ahead.
I just want to say that, because I remember saying, Nick Hardwick, and he looks a little bulky. And then I also told you that Jesse Minter looks like CM Punk a bit when we saw him out there on the field. But I'm just very intrigued for not CM Punk, but Jesse Minter's defense. And I was doing a story for SI, like defensive triplets, and is where I ranked their best pass rusher, best inside linebacker, and their best DB. And the Ravens were number one. And obviously that was Mike McDonald's defense, and similar to what Jesse Minter's trying to run. And we looked at the pass rushers for, the Ravens last year. They weren't the best. They got Cowboy Noy, former Charger, and some older guys, and Jadavion Clowney, but they had a big guy in the middle, in Matabuke. You got Roquan Smith, the linebacker, and you have Kyle Hamilton. So if you look at the Chargers kind of point of view, you got an elite player in Derwin James. You got all the the better pass rushers, with the Chargers, you get Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, and Thule, and Mike McDonald made it work that way. So if you get one more beast in the middle, maybe somebody pounds out a linebacker, then you're cooking with Jesse Minter's defense. And another point, Fernando, for a while we thought the Chargers were going to be the best rival to the Chiefs. They were doing a lot of like back and forth, like thrillers and shootouts, and that didn't work against the Chiefs. I'm not saying the Raiders were better, but the Raiders slowed it down. They punched Mahomes in the mouth. Great running game and great pass rusher Max Crosby. So if you're able to do that with Jim Harbaugh, with a better rushing attack, better protection, all the pass rushers in the world, maybe that's a recipe to beat the Chiefs. And when you got Jim Harbaugh, you better be, for sure that you're going to get a physical outfit out there. And when they drafted Joe, that told me everything right there. They're going to be physical and smack you in the mouth.
You're right, though. Like when you talk about that Raider game, what did everyone used to say when you played Brady and Manning? Keep the ball out of their hands, sustain drives, and play defense and get after the quarterback. Just because, you have these swifty casuals coming in and wanting to see the ball in the air and high numbers and everything else, that's not the way to win football games. It just doesn't happen. Because even though you have some high-scoring games in the Super Bowl, it always comes down to who can control the football and who's going to make that final stop. Obviously you have your little tic-tac 12th man and everything else, but that's a story for another time.
Moy, real quick, so we did speak to Bud Dupree, and he said last week that a couple of years ago, this wouldn't have been appealing to him, but now he's gotten to that point in that age and 10 years in the NFL where he's like, you know what, this could be pretty good. And that's the thing that I wrote about last week and what we've been talking about on this pod. The Chargers are not sitting back on their heels again and just doing whatever, like just keeping a fourth guy on there or doing stuff like that. No, they're being proactive, and they're like, you know what, Thule, Joey, Khalil, and Bud Dupree, if an injury happens to one of them, we have somebody else behind them where there won't be a drop-off. And that's the impressive part about Jim Harbaugh, is that he's slowly but surely doing it. Again, last week I said when Tony Jefferson announced that he was coming back into the NFL, I said, look, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers didn't go get him. Why? Because Tony is a guy that he's a sure tackler. He gets after it, and then he's a good blitzing safety as well. I'm sure that's something that they're going to try and add a wrinkle into. And now Tony Jefferson is going to try out with the Chargers next week at their mini camp. Pretty sure it'll be on Tuesday. So that'll be interesting. But
Mimsy, to go off of Fernando's point, I would love to see maybe him get a chance, Jefferson that is, or maybe Justin Simmons, but money might not matter.
Yeah, money might be tough, but
factor,
I think Tony Jefferson would be a good depth piece. He'd be a guy that could, if it's him and Alohi Gilman with Derwin down at linebacker, I think he'd be solid there. He's a guy that really does it all, and he even played well after he came back from his injury. He played well with the Giants 2 years ago. So, and then he rested the body for the last year. So I really think that Tony would be a good addition for the Chargers. And obviously he's a leader as well. He's a guy that I went to high school with, obviously a great guy. But then obviously you talk to Eric Weddle, who was with him in Baltimore. And Eric had nothing but great things to say about Tony. So he's just a guy that's learned from some of the top guys in the NFL. And he's obviously, he would fit right into this locker room because he likes to joke around. He likes to do a lot of different things in the locker room. And like I said, Tony, Jorge, Tony and I went to high school together. So So yeah, I think Tony would be a great addition. That
And
would
I
be
think
another depth
Jesse
piece.
Minter was his DB coach at the time anyway in
Yeah,
Baltimore.
yeah.
If I saw that right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
100%.
So he knows Jesse Minter. He knows what he wants to. Yeah, we had classes together. We had Avid. We had a bunch of different classes together. But yeah, Tony was always laughing and everything. So yeah, he's a good, smart player. He went to Oklahoma. He was a good piece there. I'm surprised he went undrafted. Honestly, like the fact that he went undrafted was completely a crapshoot. And then obviously he gets that big contract from Arizona. Then he moves on to Baltimore, gets another big contract. So Tony's a really good football player, and I think he'd be a really good piece for this team. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Jordan Schultz said that he has a meeting with the Chargers,
Nice.
a tryout with the Chargers coming up pretty soon.
They need help in that secondary, so why not?
Yeah, exactly.